Sorry, I was in mute. Let's chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's session of Srimad Bhagavatam for all. Let's recite the shloka. Today is Friday, so today is the last day we'll be reciting this verse. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, text 21. And next week we'll be memorizing a very, very important verse. They are all important, but a famous verse. Yes, Mataji, you want to go first? Shamal Gopika Mataji.
Yes, ma'am. Lokesh want to go.
Yes, Mataji, sure. 9:21. Go ahead, Lokesh.
तीर्थं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालम् तीर्थं भूत्वा सर्वलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्यं मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना गता कामा लभन्ते. When they have thus enjoyed the vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet. Thus, those who seek the sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. That was so good. Dandavas Pranam, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu is not available.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, sure. Hare Krishna. Anyone else needs to go first? So we'll go in order then. Achintya Dev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat, Prabhuji. Te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam
Te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam
क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति
Shine punye martyalokam vishanti
एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना
Evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna
गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते.
Gata gata kama kama labhante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Arunita, Aditi Lata Mataji.
I will read Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Titam bhukta sargalokam vishalam shine punnimatalokam vishanti evam trai dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labhante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I also want to say that the tune, whenever I do it, actually, when I was doing Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav, Shyamala Gopika Mataji helped because she has a beautiful voice and she does the meters so beautifully that it stuck in my mind. So whenever I remember that, okay, how did Shyamala Gopika Mataji did it? Then immediately the tune comes to me correctly.
Yeah, it's very pleasing to hear both of you when you recite. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Arunita.
Tetam
Etam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam
bhuktva swargalokam vishalam
क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति
Shine punyamatyalokam vishanti evam traidhamam
अनुप्रपन्ना
anupapanna tata katam kama kama lapante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Inba, Inya, Jai Shri Mataji, Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam Shine punyam martya lokam vishanti Evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna Gatagatam kama kama labante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth.
Yes. Inya,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam Shine punye martyalokam vishanti Evam trayi dharmamanuprapanna Gatagatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam Shine punye madhyalokam vishanti Evam traidharmam anuprapanna Gatagatam kama kama labhante. Translation of Srila Prabhupada. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, the results of their pious activities are exhausted. They return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam Shine punyam martya lokam vishanti Evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna Gata gatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Thank you,
Thank
Mataji.
you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Isha is here. Isha, Krishna Ashish, Madhava. Yeah, go ahead.
Bhukva sarvalokam visalam Sine punye martyalokam visanti Evam trayidhamam anuprapanna Gata gatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasures, and the result of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yes. Rasapriya.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam visalam Sine punyamartyalokam visanti Evam sridharmam anuprapanna Gata gatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yes, thank you. Medha and Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam Shine punye madhyalokam vishanti Evam trayidharmam anuprapanna Gata gatam kama kama labhante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yes, thank you. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam, shine punyamartyalokam vishanti, evam trai dharma manuprapanna, gata gatam kama kama labante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Saujanya Mataji and Pragya. Sorry. Priyanka Mataji. Are you able to read Mataji? Recite.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punyamartyalokam vishanti evam tridharma manuprapanna gatagatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Saujanya Mataji and Pragya. If you're not ready, I can go to Suhrid and then come back to you.
I'll read. Mataji.
You're ready.
Assembled devotees. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punye matyalokam vishanti evam traidharmam anuprapanna gatagatam kama kama gatagatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Pragya.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punyamartya lokam vishanti evam traidharmam anuprapana gatakatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Suhrid, Spurti, Mataji, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punyamartyalokam vishanti evam traidharman anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labhante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
They are not there, Mataji.
Others are not there. Okay. Achyut Priya Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Everyone were nicely singing, reciting. So I was trying to practice. Na Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to assembled devotees. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I'll try. ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयीधर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकाम लभन्ते. Translation and Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Everyone has recited? I will also recite. Bhagavad Gita 9:21. Te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 19. Yeah, text 22. So what will we be reading? Vamandev asked for 3 steps of land, and Bali Maharaj is saying, you are a small boy. Yes? We'll just read those translations. So Vamandev said that although, first Vamandev said, although you are very, text 17, although you are very munificent and are able to give me as much land as I want, I do not want anything from you that is unnecessary. If a learned Brahmana takes charity from others only according to his needs, he does not become entangled in sinful activities. Bali Maharaj said, O son of a Brahmana, your instructions are as good as those of learned and elderly persons. Nonetheless, you are a boy and your intelligence is insufficient. Thus, you are not very prudent in regard to your self-interest. I am able to give you an entire island. And remember, what did Srila Prabhupada say about an island? An island means each of the planets in the space, the whole space is compared to an ocean, and each of the planet is compared to an island. And Bali Maharaj at this time was practically the proprietor of all the, he was controlling all the planets, upper, middle, and lower. So Bali Maharaj is saying, I am able to give you an entire island because I am the proprietor of the 3 divisions of the universe. You have come to take something from me and have pleased me by your sweet words, but you are asking only 3 paces of land, therefore you are not very intelligent. O small boy, one who approaches me to beg something should not have to ask anything more anywhere. Therefore, if you wish, you may ask from me as much land as will suffice to maintain you according to your needs. The personality of Godhead said, O my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within the 3 worlds to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled. Yeah. We read the purport also yesterday. Important purport. Did we read the purport? No, we didn't read the purport. Yeah, so we read the purport? Oh, okay. Looks. The material world is an illusory energy to deviate the living entities from the path of self-realization. Anyone who is in this material world is extremely anxious to get more and more things for sense gratification. Actually, however, the purpose of life is not sense gratification but self-realization. Therefore, those who are too addicted to sense gratification are advised to practice the mystic yoga system or Ashtanga yoga system. Yes, we read this. Consisting of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, and so on. In this way, one can.
And you also said how Prabhupada starts stunning the beginning of the pose, straight away to the point.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Correct. The material world is an illusory energy to deviate the living entities from the paths of self-realization. Correct, correct. Now I remember. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, and Nunam Pramatta Kurute Vikarma. Rishabh Dev is also saying that, like a mad person, right? When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activities. So when you become addicted to sense gratification, then you perform all types of sinful activities and you become implicated again and again, taking birth in this world. So according to Rishabh Dev, like madman, just like madmen, they're engaging in activities which they should not be performing, but still they'll be doing that. Okay. Then we also talked about varnashram, how to actually rectify this situation of uncontrolled sense gratification. What is the path? The path is following the varnashram dharma, because varnashram dharma will automatically put things into perspective. Life becomes regulated, and you will be elevated from wherever we are. From that position, we can be brought to the highest platform. This is like a bridge that will take us. So the Krishna consciousness movement is establishing various farms. Why? Farms is for Varnashram community. So just one point on that. So this was Srila Prabhupada's plan. Srila Prabhupada in the year 1949 wrote a letter to Sardar Vallabhai Patel, who was at that time the deputy prime minister. And in that letter, this was 1949, that is way before Srila Prabhupada even came to America. And in that letter, Srila Prabhupada explained his proposal, his proposal of how to establish, how to awaken, how to lead the people. This is 1949. Okay, so in 1947, India got its independence. And in 1948, Gandhiji was shot. So in 1949, in India, they decided that now we should do something in the memory of Gandhiji. So if you remember, when we read in Leelamrita, early in his life, Srila Prabhupada was very much impressed by the principles of Gandhiji. So earlier, he was all about, Gandhiji was all about village life, self-sufficiency. So he had a plan of how to make, so we were already, originally the people were self-sufficient in the sense they would spin, they would make their own cloth, they would grow their own food, they were completely self-sufficient. But we won't go into the history, but after the British came in, they very systematically removed that, destroyed that self-sufficiency by taking all the raw material and shipping it to England and then bringing in the prepared material and then selling it at a high price, and the Indians had to buy, so on and so forth. So that ultimately a very prosperous country actually became poverty stricken because of this policy. So Gandhiji was all about self-sufficiency, so and village lifestyle, not factories and cities. He wanted to once again revive the Vedic system of lifestyle. So Srila Prabhupada was very much impressed by Gandhiji's philosophy when he was a student in college. And Srila Prabhupada carried those, of course, it very much, even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there is a letter written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Try to understand the timing. So after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis were there, and they gave us the books. They gave us the definition of unalloyed bhakti, pure devotional service. That means anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhi anavritam, no karma. So that means somebody who does pure devotional service, he won't do any karma. He will just leave everything. He'll leave home and he'll become a Babaji. So people were actually leaving home and going to Vrindavan to live as Babajis, because that was the definition. Like the Goswamis were living themselves. But what happened was, in order to do that Ananya Bhakti, there is a qualification. You should have full Shraddha in Bhakti. Only then you will be able to sustain there. Not having that Shraddha and just giving up karma abruptly resulted in so many sinful activities in the name of Bhakti. Externally, they are dressed as Babajis, but they were doing all types of abominable activities like illicit sex and intoxication and things like that. Why? Because they didn't get that Shraddha. So therefore, and that continued for a long time in between after the Goswamis. And then, we have Narottam Das Thakur, Shaman, after them for a period of about 200 years or something. Vaishnavas were considered in educated classes. They were the word, if you want to, if you want to call someone by a bad name, you would say, like in English, maybe you would say, you're a bum or something like that. Like you want to call them a, gali dena, as they say in Hindi. Right? If you want to call them a bad name, they would say you're a Vaishnava. That was the level to which the name of Vaishnavism was degraded in the society. So at that time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur came. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is in the society. He was a very respectable person, highly educated, and he was the magistrate, practically magistrate. Srila Prabhupada says he is like next to the governor of a state. That's the position. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur saw how many apasampradayas had come up after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the solution to this problem is, sahajiya means what? Externally you're acting like a devotee, but you don't have, internally you're maintaining all types of sinful, internally what? Even in the name of devotee, you're committing all types of sinful activities. And still you're calling yourself a devotee. So then, to correct this situation, the solution, Srila Bhakti, and by the way, this solution, it's not introduced by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You will see even in the writings of Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Daiva Varnashram system was given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he instructed his immediate disciples, the Goswamis, to write books with detailed guidelines of how to implement this Daiva Varnashram. So therefore, we have books written by Srila Sanatan Goswami, Hari Bhakti Vilas, and also Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He has written Satkriya Saradipika. They give very detailed guidelines of how a society of devotees should live and what are the activities they should do. So this is not a varnashram when we say, where, it's not like a karmakandiya varnashram. It's not that. The goal of this is pure devotional service. But the society as a whole, that means, what do you mean by a society? Society means you need basic necessities, right? Food, clothing, defense, and even mating, right? You have a family situation, and you have to get marriages done and all the different festivals that will be celebrated, social gatherings. There's a plan for everything, how everything can be conducted within the circle of pure devotional service. This is especially for the grihasthas, because sannyasis can be babajis, they can leave home and they can go, but majority of the society is grihasthas. So there is a specific plan how to introduce this into the society, how to introduce Krishna consciousness and sustain it. So Srila Prabhupada, even before he came to America, he had a very clear plan. So I was telling you, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he saw the situation of the society, I'm sorry if you feel that I'm deviating, but because that Varnashram thing came, I thought I'll just tell you a little bit about this.
Yes,
If you,
ma'am. No,
is
Mataji,
it okay?
it's helping.
Okay. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote to his son, there's a letter, you'll find all this in the Vedamis. He wrote a letter to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that the only solution is we have to implement Varnashram in the society now. Up until that time, in the Vaishnav society, there was no Varnashram. There were only Babajis. Babajis don't belong to any Varna or any ashram. Babaji is not a sannyasi, he is not a grihastha, he is not a Vanapra. That's why they wear white. Like you see the 6 Goswamis, how do they dress? They have a white, like a short, small lungi, like loincloth, and a white, small chadar. That's how Babajis dress in Vrindavan also, Braj. So they don't belong to, because they are outside, transcendental to, supposed to be transcendental to the Varnashram system. But because there is so much corruption, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur specifically instructed Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we must implement this Daiva Varnashram system. So, where do we look for spiritual, guidance? Generally, we look up to those who are renounced, isn't it? Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the first Acharya who actually implemented Varnashram, in the sense he started a Brahmachari ashram. There were no Brahmachari ashrams before Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in our line. No Brahmachari ashrams. So he started the Gaudiya Math. Gaudiya Math, who was living inside Gaudiya Math? Brahmacharis and sannyasis. The renunciates were living. So what I'm trying to tell you is, whatever is being introduced by Srila Prabhupada, it's not something that Srila Prabhupada came up with all of a sudden. It's being handed down from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's plan. There is ample evidence to prove this. So now, Srila Prabhupada is carrying this message of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. What is the goal? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, right? It is Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyata. In this Kali Yuga, the only means for deliverance is chanting the holy names of the Lord. So everyone should be chanting the names of the Lord, that will deliver them. Prithivite ache jatto nagaradi gram sarvatra prachar hoibe mornam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, as many villages and towns there are on this earth, in every town and in every village, my names will be chanted. Or the names of the Moranam means, yeah, my names will be chanted. Because as Lord Sri Krishna is saying. So that is the goal. We want that, because by chanting the holy names of the Lord, only one will be delivered. But there is a systematic plan how to introduce this in the society. That plan, a very clear plan, Srila Prabhupada had even way before even coming to America. How do we know this? There's a letter written by Srila Prabhupada to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in 1949. So that is the time after India got its so-called independence. What do you mean by independence? Independence means once again we are free to live our lives according to our culture the way we want. Did that happen? On the contrary, we became even more enslaved to the Western lifestyle. Soon after independence, do you see that? Now people are wearing Western clothes, they speak Western language, they give more, and they think their own culture is, they feel ashamed. This has been ingrained in the consciousness of the Indians, and that is the success of the British. Even though they left physically, actually they nicely put that in our heads that we are not proud of our culture, we are not proud of our food. You will see that in children also, right? They feel ashamed to take rice dal to school. They'll feel happy and comfortable because you have to fit in. You have bread and jam and you feel good. That means this has been nicely put in our hearts that we are ashamed of our culture, of our language, of our clothes, everything. And then the more we become westernized, then we are advanced. And people are actually paid to do this. So-called leaders, and they look like sadhus externally, with beard and so on and all, and then they are writing, giving messages that now we are moving forward, we are advancing. They were making movies how the advancement is now. You should go to schools and you should get education, now you are progressing. And this was nicely put in the heads of all the Indians. So at that time, this is the time when Srila Prabhupada wrote to Sardar Vallabhai Patel a letter. And in the letter, it is said, so what was going on at that time? The country wanted to remember Gandhiji for his contribution and for his sacrifice, right? He was shot dead. So they wanted to do something in his memory. As we were reading in Lilamrita, Srila Prabhupada was very, very astute, very, very sharp. He would take any hint, anything that's going in the society, he will take that to give Krishna consciousness in their own language. So if you're a scientist and you're talking about antimatter, he will take that cue, and now he will give, in the name of antimatter, he will give you Krishna consciousness. Now in India, they wanted to do something for Gandhiji. So what did Srila Prabhupada do? Srila Prabhupada said, this is wonderful. Gandhiji is so great. And what was Gandhiji's philosophy in that letter? Srila Prabhupada writes, right? He wanted to, first thing Srila Prabhupada says. So before giving the details of the letter, I'll tell you. In that letter, Srila Prabhupada gave a proposal for how he wanted to revive our culture. Okay. 4 movements. There are 4 movements. The first movement is called Sankirtan movement. Second movement is called deity worship movement or temple worship movement. Third one is called initiation, spiritual initiation movement. And the fourth one is called classless society movement. One more time. First, and this will actually progress systematically. First one is Sankirtan movement. Second is temple worship movement. Third is spiritual initiation movement. And fourth is classless society movement. So what happens in Sankirtan movement? Sankirtan movement means kirtan and books. So comparing with Gandhiji's philosophy, Srila Prabhupada said, every single day without missing, Gandhiji would go to attend his prayer meeting, and every day there would be Ram Dhun, Kirtan, and he would speak on Bhagavad Gita. This is the Sankirtan movement. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, you want to do something for Gandhiji, you must uphold his philosophy, his ideals. What is his ideal? These 4 movements. First one is Sankirtan movement, like that. And how did Srila Prabhupada introduce this? He started with Sankirtan also. He started Back to Godhead magazine. He wrote, and he would personally go and distribute on the streets. We are reading that now, that section we are reading. And also he started translating Bhagavatams. That's what we are reading in Lilamrita. And when he actually came to America, only after he finished the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in 3 volumes, right? First canto was written in 3 volumes, and he had some sets in a trunk, and then he was ready now because he had the books, and he would sit. What would he do in New York? He would sit in Tompkins Square Park with his, small drums, and he would chant Hare Krishna. This is the Sankirtan movement. Going out on the streets and introducing this Harinam and the books. This is the first movement. Then the second movement is called temple worship movement. After you tell them about Krishna consciousness, after the people are introduced to Krishna consciousness, they have the books, they know what it is. Now what is the next thing? They need a temple, right? Now we know the philosophy, now they need the people and how to progress further. So the next movement is start establishing temples, building temples where there is worship of Radha Krishna going on. So Srila Prabhupada did that.
And comparing with Gandhiji's philosophy, Srila Prabhupada said, Gandhiji started this Harijan movement, isn't it? And he called that the temple entry movement, because those who were untouchables or outcasts, they were not allowed inside the temples at that time. They were considered they had their own communities outside, and they were not even allowed in the temples. So Gandhiji said, no, they should all be allowed inside the temple, everyone. And he just named them, those who are Chamars and Bhangis. He said, now they are Harijans, they should also come. So Srila Prabhupada took it one step forward and said, yes, everyone should be allowed, but not that they will maintain their sinful activities. They should be rectified by teaching them proper principles. And by birth, whoever you may be, it does not matter. Your situation can be corrected, and the temple is meant for everyone. So that's how Srila Prabhupada said the second movement is the temple entry movement. And how did he introduce it? He constructed he built so many temples, 108 temples, right? And then in India, the major temples, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Bombay, Juhu, all these temples were built. So he actually carried out that mission, temple entry movement. And there is very high standard of deity worship. The third movement is spiritual initiation movement. So now you see worshipping the deities, but now you want to take vows, you want to become serious, you actually want to progress in bhakti, you want to enter into Ananya Bhakti. Now you are actually aspiring for that. You want to start doing it. So for that you need initiation. So spiritual initiation, this is the third movement. And for spiritual initiation, there has to be systematic training. So that's why Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, the congregational preaching, Bhakti Vriksha, all this is for the sake of training one to come to the stage of spiritual initiation so that you can actually progress. So all this was introduced by Srila Prabhupada. But these are only the three movements. There's a fourth movement which is hidden. We didn't go further. That's why Srila Prabhupada said, only half of my mission is completed. The remaining half is not done. Of course, Srila Prabhupada did that. He tried that. He started farm communities. So he said the idea of city temples is, in city temples, first of all, by Sankirtan movement, you go out, you do book distribution, you bring new people, right? You first introduce Krishna consciousness to them, you bring them to the temple. After they come to the temple, now they'll start coming regularly, and then they will become serious and they will take initiation. So two types of training happen in city temples. One training is to train people to go out and preach in the cities. That would be mostly the brahmacharis who will be living in the temple. You train them to again go back and preach in the cities. But there's also another training. When you come to the temple, you become serious, you get initiated, and now you're trained to leave the cities and go to the villages. And then what will happen in the villages? For that, you need the fourth community, fourth movement called the classless society. Classless society means actually there will be classes, but on the spiritual platform, there is no class. Why Srila Prabhupada coined classless society? Because at that time, so this is all with reference to Gandhiji's, they wanted to do something for Gandhiji. So Srila Prabhupada took that. What were the principles of Gandhiji? So he didn't like this caste system, because in the name of caste system, the Smarta Brahmanas were doing, all types of nonsense. So we don't want, everyone is equal. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said, classless society. Everyone is equal because everyone is a devotee of the Lord. On that platform, everyone is equal. But still, when you live in a society, somebody has to produce food, somebody has to manage and give protection, someone has to do the government job, and someone else has to help, right? And someone is producing, and there has to be someone who's guiding everyone else, the Brahmanas. So all four will be there. There will be the educated class, there will be the administrative class, there will be the producer class, and there will be the working class, worker class. But all four are aspirants of pure devotional service. This is a Daiva Varnashram community. So after one gets trained in Krishna consciousness, now we should actually start living by that lifestyle. Not that oh, this is Kali Yuga, so this is all we know. We will just continue. Because you see what is happening? The society is becoming more and more degraded, going further and further, drilling oil. It's just going further and further away from the lifestyle that Krishna has given us, isn't it? And even though we know the philosophy, even though we want to practice, we are forced to live by that lifestyle. But if we had our own community, after we get trained, devotees will come together and we live in our own communities. Imagine if we had our own government, we had our own schools, we had our own food, we are growing our own food. Then it's like, like American embassy in India, like that, or a spiritual world inside this material world. You are self-sufficient. And then you won't be affected by the modes of passion and ignorance so much. Here you're bombarded by that all the time, isn't it? Like when you wake up in the morning, there will be a temple in the center of the community. They're all grihastas. We go to the temple and we work. Somebody is working in the field, somebody is producing cloth, somebody is doing. But everyone in the community is a devotee. Everyone is aspiring to be a devotee. And all day long, we are only seeing and hearing devotees. This is called sadhu sangha. And in such an environment, you can really progress in Krishna consciousness. That is why Srila Prabhupada is saying in this purport, Varnashram dharma is required. Otherwise, this greed, lust, all these things, these are the modes of passion and ignorance. How to come out of that? Now you may say, but Mataji, chanting Hare Krishna is sufficient. Yes, chanting Hare Krishna is sufficient. But what type of chanting? What is the pure devotional service standard? 24/7, Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam. Your chanting should not be interrupted by anything else. Continuously, it should be going on. That continuous performance of bhakti is difficult when you are bombarded by the modes of passion and ignorance all the time. If you are in the mode of goodness, which is a village setting or a Varnashram society, it is certainly goodness. I'm not saying it is transcendental. It is goodness. But goodness is conducive. It is favorable to progress in Krishna consciousness. So that is why again and again we will read. So I gave you this background today because we will come across this Varnashram in Srila Prabhupada's purports again and again. And many times I hear this question, what is the relevance of this Varnashram in today's society? Is it, it's not possible. This is for some other time. Now it's Kali Yuga, it's not possible. No, Srila Prabhupada doesn't say that. And there's a systematic plan also. One more step. So this letter was written to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in 49. In 1956, Srila Prabhupada wrote an essay called the Gita Nagari essay. Gita Nagari means we think Gita Nagari nearby. Yes, that is there. That is one example. But Gita means Bhagavad Gita. Nagari means a city, or you can say a community which is based on the principles of Gita. That is Gita Nagari. And Srila Prabhupada's vision is every community, we should have, the whole world should be filled with Gita Nagaris, communities which are based on the principles of Gita, which are based on the principles of pure devotional service. This is the complete plan of Srila Prabhupada. We have seen only the first three, and of course now there are devotees who are working, especially in India. We have communities headed by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj and Bhakti Raghav Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj also. So there are some farm communities, or they're working in that direction where we are trying to simplify our lifestyle. But that's the way to go. In Hungary, Shivaram Maharaj, right? He has that farm community like that. But this was Srila Prabhupada's plan. New Vrindavan was started as a farm community. In South America also they had farm communities. Srila Prabhupada made it. And he said a time will come, just like last year when we had the war of Ukraine. Then there was a threat that there may be a world war. And then what? What will happen? Where will everyone go? So Srila Prabhupada said a time will come when all the people from the cities, they will be running for shelter. And at that time, we should be ready with our farm communities to feed them. And when we give them shelter, they will all actually take to Krishna consciousness. We should be prepared like that. So, yeah. So in 1956, Srila Prabhupada wrote an essay called the Gita Nagari essay. So these are the 2 points. So what is the vision of Srila Prabhupada? The complete plan is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 movements. We've seen 3 movements, but we are kind of, but now we are moving forward. It's not like we are stuck there, but this awareness has to be there. And how to do it systematically? First of all, that awareness has to come. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said every temple should have a Varnashram college. What is a Varnashram college? Basically, what I'm telling you now, like this, that awareness has to be created in everyone, that this is the way to go. We are here right now, but if we really want to progress further, then we need a favorable atmosphere where we can actually practice Krishna consciousness nicely. That awareness and the tools and the resources to actually start that will be provided by a Varnashram college. Now, what is a Varnashram college and who will do that? It should be us only. Whoever is interested, who is actually looking for a change. We are thinking, why should I send my children to this Karmi school, to these slaughterhouses? I wish we had something. It's not going to drop from the sky. It's not going to drop from the sky. The devotees who are actually looking for this, they should come together. Of course, with guidance. There will be guidance from, experienced senior Vaishnavas. But then every temple should have, like we have, fundraising department, pujari department. We should have a Varnashram college where we will be educated about the next step. After now we took initiation, we are practicing what next? What next? Especially for the grihasthas who have families. They must all, Srila Prabhupada said, they should all move to the farm communities. City temples are only meant for brahmacharis. The only purpose is go into the city and you preach and you bring them here and train them up and then transport them to the farm communities. And there you live according to your nature, whatever you are good at, whatever your nature, according to that, now you start either Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, whatever is your Varna, in that way. Whatever is your Varna means, actually we all want to be pure devotees only. But just like someone is a software engineer, someone is a teacher, someone is working in the bank, someone like that, businessman, lawyer. So according to our propensities, everyone can offer their services for the purpose of progressing in Krishna consciousness. So that is the significance of this Varnashram. So it is not just something that you just read this paragraph again. To teach this highest culture, Varnashram Dharma is recommended. The aim of the Varnashram divisions, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas, is to train one to control the senses. Controlling the senses, how you will control the senses when you go outside and you see these big hoardings all about, illicit sex and intoxication and meat eating and gambling. You just go outside, drive, and that's all you see. How are you going to control your senses, right? So Varnashram system, it is helping us to train to control the senses and be content with the bare necessities. We don't have to expand artificial, unnecessary necessities. We will be trained to be content with bare necessities. Here, Lord Vamandev, as an ideal brahmachari, refuses Bali Maharaj's offer to give him anything he might want. He says that without contentment, one could not be happy, even if he possessed the property of the entire world or the entire universe. In human society, therefore, the Brahminical culture, the Kshatriya culture, and Vaishya culture. So also remember, when we say Krishna consciousness, we get Brahman initiation. It doesn't mean that everyone has to become a Brahmana. No. Srila Prabhupada had a limited time, so he just took the Brahmanas because we need the head first. If there's no head, can the body live? We need the head. But that doesn't mean only head is the entire body. Body means it will have hands, legs, belly, everything will be there. But in that time, first of all, Srila Prabhupada trained Brahmanas. But not everyone will fit in the Brahmana. But you can train Kshatriyas also. You can train Vaishyas also. And all that, there's a scope for all that when there is a community. When there is a community, a Varnashram community. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying here that in human society, therefore, the Brahminical culture, Kshatriya culture, Vaishya culture must be maintained, and people must be taught how to be satisfied with only what they need. In modern civilization, there is no education. Just think about it. We are trying to practice Krishna consciousness to the best of our capacity, and we are raising our kids and we are sending them to college. Tell me, what is the future of the kids? What are they going to do? It's up to them what they decide. It depends on what type of association they get, isn't it? Of course, We are doing the best we can in a bad, with a bad bargain. Whatever we have, we are trying to do the best. But if we actually had a setup where they know exactly after this, like in a varnashram system, the son of a farmer will naturally be trained as a farmer. He will have that. And even if he had some other aptitude, he will have other options in the society where he can go and get trained. There will be a Gurukula where his aptitude will be recognized. By the time he's 15, his Varna will be recognized. And it's a whole society of families living together in one place. It's possible in that setup. So the Krishna consciousness movement is therefore establishing, therefore, Srila Prabhupada is saying, why? In modern civilization, there is no education, there is no such education. What type of education? Where you are taught to be satisfied with the bare necessities. There's no such education. There is no Brahminical culture, Kshatriya culture, and Vaishya culture in modern education. Everyone tries to possess more and more. We don't need to, anyone to tell us this. It's clear. We can see everywhere. Everyone wants to possess more and more, and still everyone is dissatisfied and unhappy. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is establishing various funds, especially in America, to show how to be happy and content with minimum necessities of life. That's the purpose. Farm communities will show that we can actually be happy. We don't need all this. We don't need big houses. We don't need big cars. We can live happily even without all these things. And that will save time for self-realization. After all this, the type of this lifestyle that we are living, when we die, what is the consciousness going to be at the time of death, and what is going to be my future? Individually, each person. But if there is a setup like that, chances are, you will have a more peaceful, you'll have more time to actually think about self-realization. So one can, which one can very easily achieve by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this whole Varnashram system is meant to facilitate our chanting Hare Krishna. That is the point. It is not meant to deviate us away from chanting Hare Krishna, and now you start thinking that you're a Brahmana, you start thinking that you're a Kshatriya, now this is my duty. No. That is not Daiva Varnashram system. Daiva Varnashram system means simplify your lifestyle, live in the association of devotees, instead of depending on the karmis, you just live the lifestyle which is given by Krishna according to the principles laid down by our acharyas. And in that atmosphere, because we are surrounded by devotees, we are living with devotees, chances are we will chant Hare Krishna nicely. We will progress in Krishna consciousness. This is the complete plan of Srila Prabhupada. So we just did what we read yesterday, but that last paragraph I just highlighted on that more today. Let's just read a little bit more, because we should read something today also. So text 22. Tribihi kramair asantushto dvipenapi na puryate navavarsha sametena sapta dvipa varechaya. Whose turn is it today?
Surad, the family was reading last time.
Yeah, did everyone read? Prabhuji, Shivkumar Prabhu? Yesterday, did all of you read? I think we also went to Achutpriya Mataji because they were not there. And
Yes.
then
No, Achutpriya Mataji also didn't read.
She didn't read, huh? Acha, she didn't read. Then we came to you, right?
No, Mataji, Achutpriya Prabhu read.
Okay.
No, Achutpriya Mataji read, I think.
Read. So
No,
all
she was
of
driving.
she was
yeah.
driving. So did you Achintadev Prabhu read? So Aditi Lata Mataji and Arunita read.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
If I were not satisfied with 3 pieces of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands, consisting of 9 varsas. Even if I possessed one island, I would hope to get the others.
Yeah. If so this is Vamandev, right? Speaking to Bali Maharaj. So Vamandev said, you are saying that I am a child I don't understand what is my self-interest. I'm asking only for 3 paces of land when you could give me a whole island or a whole planet. So Vamandev said that what to speak of one planet? Even if you gave me everything that is there in the entire creation, all 3 planetary systems or entire creation, whatever there is for sense enjoyment, if my senses are not controlled, still I will not be satisfied. Then Vamandev is saying, on the other hand, now, if I were not satisfied with 3 paces of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands consisting of 9 varshas. You know the 7 islands, right? Jambudvip, Lakshadvip, Salmali Dvip, that when we read. So these are the islands. They were separated by Maharaj Agnidra, remember? So the 9 islands. So even if you gave me one whole island, like let's say the Jambudvip consisting of the 9 varshas, if you gave me the whole Jambudvip, still I will not be satisfied. If I'm not satisfied with 3 steps, I wouldn't be satisfied even with the whole Jambudvip. Even if I possessed one island, I would hope to get others. Why only one? Now I want second. And after second, I want all 7. Why only this? I want Swarga also. I want everything like that. So a person who is not satisfied, for him, there is no limit of what he wants, to what he wants. Saptadvipādhipatayo Nipa Vainya Gaya Dayaha Arthaikamairgata Nantam Krishnaya iti Nashrutam. Mataji, Aditi Lata Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. We have heard that although powerful kings like Maharaj Prithu and Maharaj Gaya achieved proprietorship over the 7 dvipas, they could not achieve satisfaction or find the end of their ambitions.
Yeah. So I don't know why Maharaj Prithu and Maharaj Gaya are mentioned here. Srila Prabhupada didn't give a purport, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But it is said that even great powerful kings, that if you're thinking that if you got, adhipatyam, you got the proprietorship of, let's say, you became the president of America, then you would want, we saw in the past, not about America, I'm not saying about one country, but in the past, the kings, right, they wanted to conquer, right, just take over the whole, the British Empire, for example. They just went conquering everyone else. But does that mean that you become happy? No. So here the examples are given. Great powerful kings like Maharaj Prithu, Maharaj Gaya. Of course, they are great devotees. Prithu Maharaj is actually an incarnation, Shaktavesh avatar of the Supreme Lord. They achieved proprietorship over the 7 dvipas, all 7 dvipas, but they could not achieve satisfaction or find end of their ambitions, right? Simply by conquering land, you're not going to get satisfaction. यद्रेच्छयोपपन्नेन सन्तुष्टो वर्तते सुखं नासन्तुष्टस्त्रिभिर्लोकैर् अजितात्मोपसादितैः. Okay, so we'll stop here because there's purport here. So today's talk was mainly about Varnashram system, and maybe we can read Bhagavad Gita and Leelamrit, because this week I don't know how much we read. I'll just read one verse of Bhagavad Gita and a little bit of Leelamrita, one paragraph. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, text 26. Please repeat. Mukta sango naham vadi dhrityutsaha samanvitaha siddhya siddhyor nirvikaraha karta satvika uchyate. So we are seeing action in the mode of passion, ignorance, and now goodness. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature,
Without association with the modes of material nature,
without false ego,
without false ego,
with great determination and enthusiasm,
with great determination and enthusiasm,
and without wavering in success or failure,
and without wavering in success or failure,
is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
is said to be a worker in
the mode of goodness.
Yeah. So one who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature. That means you're not doing, when you're affected by goodness, passion, and ignorance. That means when you're ignorant, then you'll be like lazy. You're not so much inclined to do the work. Passion means you want the results, so you're working, right? Mode of goodness. So you're not affected by the modes without being affected. Of course, it is said worker in the mode of goodness, but he's working without being affected by the modes. Huh? Then without false ego, I am this or I am that, with great determination and enthusiasm. Whether you get results or not, you will still show enthusiasm and you will be determined, right? And without wavering in success or failure, same thing. Whether it is success or failure, he'll do it as a matter of duty. Then someone who has this type of consciousness, he is a worker in the mode of goodness. Purport: a person in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada will always give every shloka, he will explain it, how it is applicable to us who are aspiring for pure devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, a person in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental to the material modes of nature. So how a devotee is automatically a worker in goodness. That's what Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport. Okay, so that is the quality of a person, a worker in the mode of goodness. How is a devotee already in the mode of worker in the mode of goodness? Because a person in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental to the material modes of nature. He has no expectations for the result of the work entrusted to him, right? It's not that I did this work, so I should get credit. If I'm actually Krishna conscious, I will not have that. He has no expectations for the result of the work entrusted to him because he's above false ego and pride. False ego means identifying yourself as someone and then therefore you have to maintain that position. That's false ego. But a Krishna conscious devotee will not have that, and no pride. Still, right? He doesn't want any credit, but still he's always enthusiastic till the completion of such work. He doesn't want the credit that I did it, you recognize that I did it. But at the same time, like karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturvur mate sangostva karmani. Krishna says, don't think that you're the cause of the work, but at the same time, don't become lazy. You should work very, very sincerely, like that. So this Krishna conscious devotee, he will work very enthusiastically till the completion of such work. He does not worry about the distress undertaken, right? While doing this work so much, oh my God, it's very difficult. No, he doesn't mind. He is always enthusiastic. He does not care for success or failure, right? We try to put up a big program and not so many people show up. It's okay. He will continue with equal enthusiasm. He will continue. He does not care for success or failure. He is equal in both distress and happiness. Such a worker is situated in the mode of goodness. That's the point. I'll stop Srimad Bhagavad Gita reading here and we'll quickly read one paragraph of Prabhupada Lilamrita. Otherwise, it will go so down, I won't be able to find it if we just don't read Bhagavad Gita and Lilamrita. It's already 4 days. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, continuation. The gatherings at my home would be attended by about 20 or 30 people. So who's speaking? Let's go back a little bit. Dr. Banerjee. Dr. Banerjee. Who's Dr. Banerjee? He gave one copy to Mr. P. Banerjee of the National Museum of New Delhi. So Srila Prabhupada wrote that small booklet, right, about using that antimatter thing, to introduce Krishna consciousness, explaining antimatter means actually spiritualism. So that booklet was given to Dr. P. Banerjee. So Dr. P. Banerjee is saying, he used to come to the library and consult some books and I met him there. How did he meet? I met him in the library. He gave me a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets. He gave me some copies to distribute for a rupee or half a rupee, like that. And I felt attracted. And whatever he said was, so he's influenced. He's very much influenced by Srila Prabhupada. So then, let me see. Whatever he said very distinctly. He spoke in Bengali and explained the essence. He would go. This person, Banerjee, was interested. So he would ask Srila Prabhupada, can you come to my home and can you give some Bhagavad classes? And he would invite some people or just him also. But Srila Prabhupada would come and he would speak in Bengali. And because this Dr. P. Banerjee was interested, Srila Prabhupada would take time to explain even the commentaries of acharyas like that. He would go into detail. That's what we read in the last reading. The gatherings at my home would be attended by about 20 or 30 people, and he would continue his explanation for 1 or 2 hours. Then he would recite the Hare Krishna mantra, and we would also take part with the kartals and harmonium. So it was a very enjoyable gathering because he made the difficult things very easy. This is Srila Prabhupada's speciality, right? His purports, when you read, even I may not be very good in English, I may not have a big vocabulary, very simple words he can, but at the same time, it's very, very scholastic. It doesn't mean it's, but he presents it in a way that even children can understand, really. If they read it, even they can understand. So Dr. P. Banerjee is saying that it was a very enjoyable gathering because he made the difficult things very easy. And he explained everything to all of us according to our needs. Also, this is the expertise of a teacher. He is able to come down to the level of the student and give the message in an understandable way. So, Srila Prabhupada did that. He knew that this much is for this person, this much is intended for this man, this much for the others. He knew how much to give each person. This person doesn't have capacity to take more, so this is enough for him. And for another person, he can take more, he would give. That means he would really gauge the student. After the meetings, he used to take a little rest in my house. I requested him to take meals in my house, but he said he did not take meals prepared by others. Look at that. He did not take meals prepared by others. But when he met my wife and she said she would be happy to prepare the meals, he said, all right, I will take. Again, right? You see, if the person is a devotee, then you can accept. So he said, all right, I will take. And she used to prepare meals on Sundays when he would come. He sometimes asked me how to get more and more people attracted towards this field. But as a government worker, I could not persuade anyone very openly, nor had I the time to organize anything on a big scale for him. But he was not satisfied with that. He asked me if I could organize on a bigger scale. He knew that the people who attended the meetings at my house were very old, 70, 80. One was 90 years of age, retired, educated persons. It lasted for no less than a year. After that, he said he would be trying to go out to other places. He asked me to continue the gatherings, but I said, I am not initiated. He said I could continue anyway because I was born as a Brahmana. He gave me the authority to continue for some time, but I could not continue because I used to go out. I lost all interest after he left. I was a government servant. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for giving the extra time. You all have a wonderful day.